Rick Santorum canceled all appearances Sunday, January 29th and Monday, January 30th in Florida to help and spend time with his ill 3-year-old daughter Bella, suffering from trisomy 18, which is a genetic disorder in which a person has a third copy of material from chromosome 18 instead of the usual 2 copies. She was sent to the ICU because of a fatal case of pneumonia. Santorum's older daughter Elizabeth stood in place for him and told the crowd that he wanted to be there, but, quote, is exercising his most important role, which is being a dad. Many thoughts and prayers were given to Santorum and his family, and Santorum himself was barely criticized for then continuing his campaign, even though things going on at home are very serious and hard to work through. Columnist Patricia Murphy from the Washington Post brings up a very good point. Would any other mother in politics be praised for her devotion to her sick child, as Santorum has been? Or rather, would she be criticized for campaigning while others saw the need of her children? For example, Sarah Palin brought her disabled son Trig to the Republican National Convention and was then ridiculed for having her priorities out of line, for splitting her attention between her son and her campaign. However, Santorum is basically doing the same thing and is not getting as harsher comments. Some of Palin's harshest critics were among women. The one person that would not let the situation go was Sally Quinn, also a writer for the Washington Post. She ended up writing 2 articles about the situation and explained that she was all for women pursuing big careers, but when children are involved, especially a child who needs special attention, Palin should have been paying more of her attention to Trig and not becoming Vice President of the United States. Also, the pregnancy of her daughter Bristol further intensified the question of whether Palin would be able to handle the stress of not only children, but grandchildren. Like we have talked about in class, many of the candidates, especially Santorum, consider themselves family men. If you think about it, how could these candidates be family men if their jobs require them to be away from home all the time? When these men are interviewed, family matters are rarely brought up and are hardly ever criticized for being a parent and government official. However, if a woman is running, the question of whether she will be able to handle her children and the job are an important concern. Santorum has somewhat used his daughter's illness to gain public sympathy. In an interview, Santorum said he is not worried about the polls, but that by the influence of his daughter, he feels he is called to become President of the United States. He continues to say he wants to have a country that respects her life. Finally, Santorum has used this situation to point out that the healthcare reform expands coverage and will, in fact, help families in similar situations. So here are some questions for you to think about. Do you think this shows a sexist view on the continuous fight for trying to prove that women should not hold prestigious government offices? Do you think this shows Americans' different views about the roles of mothers and fathers? Do you think if any candidate, male or female, running for president or vice president with a special needs child should be allowed to run? Do you believe Sarah Palin's priorities were out of line when she was running for vice president? If you think so, do you think Santorum's priorities are out of line? Thank you.